Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video, we are going to discuss important editorial of the Hindu newspaper. This is particularly important for Indian foreign policy. I will make a separate playlist for different topics, and also I have highlighted in a different color so that you understand which kind of information can be used in different ways. For example, yellow color will be generic lines which can be used anywhere you want to. On the other hand, red highlights would indicate the implication or the challenges. So likewise, you can subdivide the topic and use the relevant information. This topic will be especially relevant for you for essays. Okay. And after listening to this discussion, I would request you to read the article after listening to the discussion. It will give you more clarity. I will attach the link of my Telegram channel where I will share the PDF of the Hindu newspaper. I would also request you to kindly like and subscribe the channel. It takes a lot of effort to make these videos, and your support will encourage me to do more. So, thank you. Now, in the beginning, the author says that there are two views about how India's foreign policy should be. One side of the view, which is very optimistic and very nationalistic in approach, says that India should hold a global position, and it is a growing power and hold a major position in multipolar world and shape the narrative of the global geopolitics. On the other hand, there is a pessimistic voice which says that we have internal challenges, we have domestic challenges, including that millions of our people is under poverty line, and also there are issues of governance. At the same time, we are having much of religious and ethnic, conflicts in the country, which is and our focus should be on resolving these issues rather than focusing on the foreign policy. And this dilemma will always be there. But the author is saying that this is a false binary. Now, what is false binary? What is binary? Zero or one. So we cannot see this problem as zero and one. It is a false binary, and on this note only, the author will conclude that we cannot see it in different, approaches. That because India is focusing more on foreign policy, we can overlook domestic challenges. No, it is going to be, simultaneous, and India needs to have a balanced approach for both. Okay, so here also the author says that whatever choices India is going to make, it will have global consequences. India is home to 1.4 billion population, and even if it is involved with the global world or it is not, it will have major consequences when it comes to geopolitics. These lines are quite important. It says that ignoring or dismissing the global consequences of rising India is unwise. If we ignore the consequences of Indian choices, it is unwise. At the same time, doing so without being rooted in the realities of country inherit a limitation that would be strategic blunder. But at the same time, we have to understand the limitations of the country from within. Ignoring that would be a strategic blunder. So use these lines. And then, when it comes to powers and consequences, authors takes us back to 1991 when India was weak, poor, deeply beleaguered. Beleaguered means strained. So we were strained, and our foreign exchange was only 5.8 billion. Nominal GDP was 270 billion. These numbers are not important, and 50% of the population was poor. So in 1991, we had to take LPG reforms, okay, and it helped us take millions out of poverty, and it helps raise the global status and also the economical, backing of the country. At that point of time, India did not have, good relationships with America. At the same time, with Soviet Union, we had friendship treaty, but Soviet Union collapsed, and we had a India-Pakistan clash looming, and there were constant threats of nuclear war. And US was overseeing us for our nuclear production, both India and Pakistan. There were also attempts by American officials to come and talk to both the neighboring countries who were not in a good terms with each other. Here, cantankerous means argumentative. Now, author brings us back to 2023 and tells us that now the situation has changed tremendously. Now we have 600 billion of foreign exchange. That time we had only 5.8 billion. It was only just there for 1 week. and now we have cover for months. And now, however, Pakistan has been exchanged with China, who is our permanent enemy right now. Although there is still general sense of foreign policy optimism, there is still momentum in foreign policy, and people see it with the hope and aspiration. Okay, so the author says 1991 reforms helped build a good GDP and also economic structure. Right now, in the budget, it was declared that India has become the fifth largest economy. It has overtook UK to become fifth largest economy. At the same time, we are touching 4 trillion. Right now, we are 3.5 trillion, and we are aiming to become 5 trillion by 2025. And we also have hundreds of nuclear weapon, although the number is small when it comes to, in comparison with US and Russia, they have in thousands, but still this is significant enough. Okay, and we now have a strong relationship with most of the countries in the world. So this is the product of visionary investment made over decades by the politicians and by the leaders, and now it is like India is seeing the fruit of all the efforts done internationally. So, author says that India is a pivotal swinging power. What is pivotal swinging power? That you understand that whenever there is a, arc-like structure, there is a pivot here, and on this pivot only the entire structure depends. The entire structure's balance depend on this. And what is a swinging power? That it might, change position depending on the, its own well-being and its own accommodation. So that's why it is known as swinging power. So he is saying that India is a swinging power, and it is playing both sides with great elan, with great swiftness, with great enthusiasm. Then great power politics around Ukraine. Again, he brings to the present situation that in the Ukraine war, again, this significance of a balancing power came to the fore, as the author says that US desperately wants India on their side. At the same time, Russia, who is embittered, who is engulfed with war, who is besieged by war from all the sides, is losing sleep over India to not turn its back on Russia. So both the sides is, wooing India to be on their sides right now. And New Delhi is playing all right, and the author says it is being a bridge between North and South, East and West, indirectly indicating that it is a major pole in world politics. Now, in every global and multilateral institution, India has raised the voice of Global South, which includes developing countries and maritime countries. And presently also, even Shepra of G20, Amitabh Kant, raised today that the African Union should be a permanent part of G20. And it is encouraged, it is responded positively by all the members of G20 countries. So this shows that India is one such pole who is raising the voice of South and being a bridge between North and South and East and West. Okay, so this is significant. But the author still reminds us that even though that is there, but still we have a lot of people under poverty. We still have national issues, domestic issues. We still have capabilities issue, and whether India is punching above its weight is yet to be seen. We don't know yet. Okay. Then, other side of the great power story. Then again, the author is showing us the negative aspects of too much getting involved in the foreign politics. He is saying that presently GDP per capita is $1947 per person. On the other hand, Bangladesh is 2,227. Numbers are not important, but this shows that Bangladesh is ahead of us when it comes to per capita income. Per capita income is average individual income. This comes around to be 1,70,000 something. So our neighboring country, who is not as developed as us, still have more capital per capita income. This shows that there is lack of, economical well-being dispersion among the people. That is there. And then, even if Bangladesh is 40th largest military, on the other hand, India has the fifth largest economy and also has the one of the largest military in the world. This shows the disparity that India has been spending more money in the military infrastructure rather than in the economical development, and raising of the well-being of the people. So here is that gap. Then India is also have major infrastructure and governance issues. Like for example, our rank in ease of doing business has increased, but at the same time, our starting of the business is still a nightmare in India. And again, the author points us that we are a country in whose capital few days of rain led to chaos, led to drowning of major infrastructure, led to flooding of the entire city. So that is the kind of infrastructure we have. Then there are regional caste, ethnic, religious divide running deep into the country. We have seen that there has been rising intolerance in the country. We see presently Manipur violence. So there are certain issues in domestically India is facing, which we need to first resolve. And that is the reason author is saying that is the reason that Indian politician does not take much risks when it comes to foreign policy, because our focus is distracted towards these domestic challenges. And when such situations come, then the politician leave it to the career bureaucrats to make a decision. And bureaucrats are not in a favor of much change. They believe in status quo. So that becomes difficult. But presently, that is not the scenario, because the foreign minister is a career bureaucrat. But under his guidance, there has been a lot of changes. So this is not true in all the circumstances, but still, because of the domestic issues, there has been, distraction when it comes to foreign policy. Then the author says the weak economy has direct consequences on the engagement with the world. Why? Because you also need to spare the money towards these kinds of engagement, because going to any multilateral fora or taking any global initiative takes money, and when our economy is not in a good position, then obviously we will not be able to make much efforts globally. It can be highlighted with the example that educated lack of adequate resources was pointed out by Parliamentary Committee on External Affairs, which said that India only allocated 0.44% of GDP in foreign policy initiative, Ministry of External Affairs. So it is also they also said that we do not find such a allocation in consonance with countries' rising aspiration in growing global stature. That this little of the allocation of resources is not in consonance or not parallel with the country's aspiration and its global positioning in the world. So there needs to increase, the resource allocation in the department. But we have our own limitation. That is the case with the developing countries. But India is unique in its own sense, given its size and the number of people and its positioning in the world right now. We cannot, let go the domestic challenges as well as we cannot let go the global platforms and our global aspiration. The author, concludes with that only, that it is not a binary question. It is not if we do this or do that. We have to do both. And if we do not take it, then we have to be a rule taker. If you are not a rule shaper, you have to be a rule taker. And India is not in a position to be a rule taker. We have to be on the table to shape the narrative, to make the rules of global scenario. And then the present issues of global world, he points out that be it debt restructuring, climate change, global trade, or non-proliferation of arms. In all these challenges, global challenges, India has to be a part in making the rules. India's ability to shape international politics must also be reflection of domestic context. Now he points out that whatever positioning globally we are taking or whatever efforts globally we are making, it should have direct consequences on the lives of people domestically. Okay, so if we are making any deals in with some country, it should include having jobs for Indians. For example, we are dealing with some other country with respect to technology or defense equipment, then we have this domestic component criteria that certain percentage of this agreement should come from domestic manufacturing so that it will give more skill and jobs to Indians. So whatever decision globally we are making should have domestic consequences and vice versa. Okay, and the author then says global engagement must necessarily be geared towards well-being of the people that we discussed. Neither is strategic autarky. Autarky means self-reliance, okay, or autonomy, an option, nor is India's assertiveness on the global stage as a matter of nationalistic hubris, ego, or arrogance, or efficacious vanity. This is also called ego only. Okay. So the author is again cautioning, okay, that we cannot be in autonomy state in the global world, okay, but at the same time we cannot position ourselves so assertively based on our nationalistic ego. Okay, so we discussed this article, very nicely written. In the nutshell, this article talks about the Indian dilemma, Indian foreign policy dilemma, that what kind of foreign policy should we have? Should it be super nationalist, and should India be positioning its global power around the world, or should we be focusing more on the domestic issues? And author tells us about what have been our past in 1991, how our position has changed to the present scenario after LPG reforms, and now we have ties with most of the countries, and India has become a major balancing power when it comes to North and South and East and West. And presently in the Ukraine war, it has positioned itself well. But at the same time, we have domestic challenges. We have a lack of resource allocation. And we, at the same time, cannot ignore the global aspiration. And we cannot be just the rule taker. We also have to be a rule maker. But whatever rules we make should directly help improve the lives of the people domestically. So that was the entire picture of this article. Do read it by your own. I hope you gained some knowledge, some understanding with our discussion, and keep learning. Thank you.